back. We are incredibly glad you decided to join us for another deep dive today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an exciting one.
It really is. We're tackling a topic that is, well, it's absolutely critical for anyone who feels like they've hit a plateau in learning a new language.
Specifically English in this case.
Right, specifically English. We are looking at this major cognitive shift. It's that leap from mental translation to direct thinking.
It really is the holy grail of language acquisition, isn't it?
Oh, totally.
There's this distinct moment in your learning journey where you stop trying to build a bridge between your native language and English, and you decide to live on the English side of the river.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, and when you can exist entirely within the language like that, your entire communication style just completely changes.
So the research and the materials we're synthesizing today, they detail some of the most proven, essential techniques for making that jump. But I want to be clear about the mission for this deep dive. We are not going to sit here and tell you to do like 4 hours of grueling grammar drills every night.
No, absolutely not. Nobody has time for that.
Exactly.
And honestly, intense, isolated study sessions can sometimes reinforce the very translation habits we actually want to break.
Right. So we want to extract practical, extremely low-friction strategies. The goal is to bypass the translation hurdle and build genuine fluency through small, consistent daily habits.
Habits that just blend right into the life you are already living.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this.
I think the best place to start is by diagnosing the actual problem.
Yeah, let's do that.
Think about a language learner who has an excellent vocabulary. Maybe they ace all their written exams,
Sure.
but the moment they step into a fluid, real-world conversation, they suddenly hesitate. They stutter. They just freeze.
I think every single person listening has experienced that mid-sentence freeze.
Oh, definitely.
You know, you are talking, the conversation is flowing, and suddenly it's just a blank wall. You know the word, but it just won't come out.
What's fascinating here is the underlying neurology of that delay. It is not a knowledge deficit.
Right.
It's a processing bottleneck. We call it the translation tax.
The translation tax.
Yeah. When you rely on translation, your brain is essentially operating a complex cognitive assembly line.
How so? Like, what is actually happening in the brain during that awkward silence?
Well, your brain registers a thought. Then it has to retrieve the vocabulary in your native language.
Okay.
Next, it searches its database for the English equivalents of those specific words. Then, and this is the heavy part, it has to run those English words through a separate set of grammatical rules to make sure the syntax is correct.
Wow.
Only after all those steps are completed does your brain send the signal to your vocal cords to speak. You are doing quadruple the mental work just to say a single sentence.
That makes so much sense. That explains the massive drain on mental energy. It eats up time, creating that latency. You are trying to run a heavy software program without enough RAM, so the whole system just stalls out.
That's a great way to put it. And that latency is what makes conversations feel so unnatural. Direct association, on the other hand, builds automatic responses. It actually mirrors how we absorb language in early childhood.
Think about that for a second. When you were a toddler, you didn't have a native language to translate from.
Yeah.
You just experienced the world directly. You felt the cold, wet sensation of water, and you associated that physical sensation directly with the sound water.
By recreating that direct, unmediated association as an adult, you completely bypass the middleman. You eliminate the translation tax entirely.
Okay, I understand the problem. The translation tax is draining my processing power, but how do you actually stop doing it?
Right, the practical application.
Yeah, because if I am walking into a morning meeting at work, my brain instinctively wants to prep by running through my native language first. How do I bypass that deeply ingrained habit?
That brings us to our first set of strategies, which revolves around a psychological concept called priming.
Priming.
Instead of walking into a situation cold and forcing your brain to react on the fly, you give your neural pathways a head start.
Okay, how?
You anticipate the native expressions based on the context of the environment you are about to enter.
So using that morning meeting scenario, before I even open the conference room door or log into the video call, I should be mentally preloading the English software.
Precisely. You already know the social script. Someone is going to ask, how is your day going? Or did everyone have a good weekend?
Right, the standard small talk.
Exactly. By actively envisioning those specific English phrases beforehand, you are literally warming up the neural circuits associated with English.
You are bringing that vocabulary to the front of your working memory.
Yes. And this applies to social settings, too. If you are heading to a dinner party, You know people will likely discuss the weather or the food or upcoming weekend plans.
So you just prep those topics.
Right. If you pre-activate that vocabulary on your commute over, you drastically reduce your dependency on the translation assembly line when the moment actually arrives. Your brain is already humming in English.
That sounds like a really great way to handle predictable situations. But the material also emphasizes something a bit more radical for dealing with unpredictable vocabulary.
The bilingual crutches.
Yes. It suggests completely ditching bilingual crutches.
This is often the hardest pill for advanced learners to swallow. If you want to think directly in English, you have to completely sever the tie between the English word and your native language equivalent.
Let's talk about how to actually do that, because it requires a big cognitive leap. If I encounter a new English word, my absolute first instinct is to immediately look up what it means in my native language.
Of course it is.
How do I build an association without doing that?
You have to replace the linguistic translation with a sensory or conceptual visualization.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's take something simple, like learning the word rain. A beginner translates rain to their native word, but an advanced learner wanting direct fluency, they observe the rain.
They observe it.
They look at the visual of the water falling. They listen to the sound of the drops hitting the glass. They recall the smell of wet asphalt. They tie the English word rain directly to that complex web of sensory data.
So you are bypassing the linguistic dictionary and using your brain's experiential dictionary instead.
Exactly.
And speaking of dictionaries, this ties perfectly into why we need to talk about monolingual resources. Using an English-only dictionary feels super intimidating, but it seems to be non-negotiable for this level of fluency.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, using minimal bilingual tools is about preventing your brain from retreating to its comfort zone.
Right.
When you use an English-to-English dictionary, you are forcing your brain to navigate and comprehend entirely within the target language's ecosystem.
I really like that word, ecosystem. Think about looking up a concept like adventure. In a bilingual dictionary, you get a one-to-one swap, one word in, one word out.
Right.
But if you look up adventure in an English dictionary, the definition will say something like an exciting experience with risks.
Notice the cognitive mapping happening there. By investigating one single word, you are suddenly engaging with 3 other highly relevant English concepts: exciting, experience, and risks.
It weaves a web.
It does. You are building out an internal network of related words. The more interconnected those English words are to each other, rather than to your native language, the faster your recall will be in a live conversation.
Okay, so if I am doing all this mental prep before meetings and I am wrestling with English definitions, what happens when I just go about my normal day at home? Am I supposed to be mentally exhausted 24/7 trying to maintain this ecosystem?
Not at all. That is where we transition from active, focused effort to passive immersion and environmental design.
Oh, good. Low friction.
Very low friction. These are some of the easiest habits you can possibly adopt, and they yield tremendous results for visual word-object linking.
Environmental design. We are talking about physically altering your space, right?
Yes.
The classic example in the guide is applying English labels to your surroundings. Taking a stack of sticky notes and labeling your mirror, your door, your refrigerator. I have to ask, does that actually work for an intermediate or advanced learner? It feels a bit like a kindergarten classroom.
It does feel a little elementary, I admit. But we cannot underestimate the power of spatial memory. Your brain is incredibly adept at mapping physical locations.
Okay.
By placing an English label on your bathroom mirror, you are utilizing spatial memory to reinforce the vocabulary. Every single morning, without any conscious effort, your brain registers the object, its physical location, and the English text simultaneously.
It's automatic repetition without the fatigue of studying. And if you share a house with people who might not appreciate a sticky note on every appliance, you can do this mentally, right? While taking a walk, just mentally tag the environment: tree, car, sidewalk.
Absolutely. And we must talk about the digital equivalent of this spatial mapping, which is arguably even more impactful given how much of our lives are lived on screens today.
Switching your device interfaces to English. Your phone, your laptop, your tablet.
Yes. Changing your phone's language taps directly into muscle memory. You already know exactly where the weather app is. You know where the alarm clock settings are.
Right, you do it blindfolded.
Exactly. By forcing the interface into English, you are pairing your existing subconscious muscle memory with the target language. You navigate your daily routine entirely in English, almost by accident.
That is the ultimate passive exposure. And the research strongly advocates for pairing that with passive listening, too. surrounding yourself with English audio, news broadcasts while cooking, podcasts during a commute, music with meaningful lyrics. But there is a massive caveat here about burnout.
The rule of enjoyment. If you are forcing yourself to listen to dry academic lectures simply because they are spoken in English, you will experience cognitive fatigue. Your brain will tune it out, and you will eventually abandon the habit.
You have to select content you actually care about. If you love true crime, listen to a true crime podcast in English. If you love technology, watch tech reviews in English. The goal isn't to take a pop quiz on the material afterward.
Focus entirely on comprehension over perfection. You do not need to understand every single syllable. Passive listening is about letting the natural rhythm, the cadence, and the intonation of the language wash over you.
Just getting a feel for it.
Right. Your brain is an incredible pattern recognition machine. Let it do its job in the background while you chop onions for dinner.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the next strategy for developing direct thinking involves something that might feel deeply uncomfortable at first. Engaging in self-directed speech.
Yes.
Essentially talking to yourself out loud.
It might seem eccentric to some, but neurologically, it is a profoundly effective technique. When you only think in a language, you are skipping the motor execution phase.
The physical act of speaking.
Exactly. Actually articulating the words aloud hones your pronunciation, forces you to construct complete sentences, and smooths out your vocal flow.
But doing it privately means you strip away the external pressure of an actual conversation. You aren't worried about someone judging your accent or your grammar.
You are creating a zero-pressure laboratory for yourself.
So what does this look like in practice? Am I supposed to deliver a Shakespearean monologue in my living room?
Keep it grounded in your immediate reality. Narrate your daily decisions. You might be standing in the kitchen and you just verbalize your thought process. What should I cook for dinner? I can make pasta. No, I had that yesterday. Let's defrost the chicken.
You are forcing your inner monologue out into the open.
Yes.
And for anyone who feels ridiculous talking to an empty room, I love the suggestion of talking to your pets. If you have a dog or a cat, make them your exclusive English audience.
It works wonders.
Say, time for a walk, or are you hungry?
Yeah.
Your dog doesn't care if you use the wrong preposition.
Pets are the ultimate non-judgmental conversational partners. Another great technique is singing along to English songs while doing chores. You are physically training your mouth and vocal cords to produce the phonetic sounds smoothly, driven by the rhythm of the music.
But how do you start this without feeling entirely overwhelmed?
Incremental effort is the secret here. Do not attempt to narrate your entire day. Set a timer for 30 seconds.
Just half a minute.
For half a minute, force yourself to articulate basic thoughts. As you become more comfortable, extend the time.
And beyond just narrating facts, the materials delve into using motivational affirmations in English, repeating positive statements to encourage your mindset. Things like, I'm getting better at English daily, or speaking English opens new doors for me.
This is more than just a self-esteem boost. There's real neurological weight to this practice.
Really? Why does this work so well for language specifically? Why do I need to affirm my skills out loud?
It comes down to the relationship between emotion and memory retention. In linguistics, there is a concept called the affective filter.
The affective filter. Okay.
When you are anxious or frustrated, that filter goes up and learning is blocked. When you use affirmations with genuine conviction, perhaps during your morning routine in front of the mirror, you are actively lowering that filter. You are infusing the target language with positive emotional states.
And emotion cements memory.
Exactly. It hardwires the habitual thinking far deeper than rote, unemotional repetition.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to actually implement these habits today? Because let's be totally honest here. Standing in your kitchen, talking to yourself about defrosting chicken, or looking in the mirror and declaring your English is getting better, it feels weird.
Oh, definitely.
There's a massive cringe factor.
The psychological hurdles are very real. Self-directed speech feels intensely awkward at first. Your brain will resist it because it feels unnatural. The advice from the experts is straightforward. You simply have to embrace the awkwardness.
Just push through it.
Push through the cringe. In fact, to truly accelerate your progress, you should occasionally record your private practice sessions on your phone for self-review.
Wait, record myself speaking English. I will be completely honest, that sounds like a form of torture.
I know.
Hearing your own voice is bad enough, but hearing your own voice struggling with a second language, I think a lot of people would rather throw their phone in a lake.
It is uncomfortable, but it is also a powerful form of desensitization. The more you hear yourself speaking English, the less foreign it feels. You stop viewing yourself as an outsider to the language.
Okay, I can see that.
Plus, auditing your own recordings allows you to objectively hear your pronunciation and track your progress over time.
I suppose once you get over the horror of hearing your own recorded voice, realizing that you actually successfully navigated a thought in English without translating it would be incredibly motivating.
It builds immense confidence. But the key to reaching that point is consistency, which brings us to troubleshooting common roadblocks. How do you maintain these habits when life gets busy?
Forgetfulness is a big one. It is so easy to just forget to do your 30 seconds of practice or your mental labeling.
The most effective solution is habit stacking. You do not want to rely purely on willpower or memory to practice English. Instead, tie your new, small English habit to a highly established daily routine.
Like your morning coffee.
Exactly. If you brew a cup of coffee every single morning without fail, make the act of turning on the coffee machine your trigger.
I like it that.
The moment the machine turns on, that is your cue to do 30 seconds of English narration or to read one definition in your monolingual dictionary. You anchor the new behavior to an unbreakable existing habit.
You make it automatic.
Yeah.
And if you face resistance to change, if you are just too tired to engage, start with the enjoyable activities first.
Yes, don't force it.
Don't start your habit building with the English dictionary. Start by changing your favorite video game into English or listening to a podcast you already love. Ease the transition until it becomes second nature.
Because the ultimate payoff detailed in all of this research is absolutely worth pushing through the awkwardness and the resistance. When you adopt these low-friction methods, you dramatically alter your conversational response times.
You eliminate the hesitation. Thinking directly in English becomes effortless. And that natural fluency completely transforms how you interact with the world. You aren't exhausting yourself just trying to formulate a sentence. You are actually connecting with the person in front of you.
It stops being an academic subject you're studying and becomes an integrated part of how you process reality. You are no longer a visitor in the language, you are a resident.
That's the perfect way to put it. You become a resident. So let's briefly recap the core message from today's deep dive. If you want to unlock true fluency, you have to dismantle that cognitive assembly line. You have to eliminate the mental translation tax.
And you achieve that not through punishing study sessions, but by surrounding yourself with low-fiction English habits. Anticipate expressions before you need them.
Use monolingual dictionaries to build a conceptual network.
Label your physical and digital environments. Immerse yourself in audio you actually enjoy. And above all, do not be afraid to talk to yourself.
Start small. Tie it to your morning coffee. Stay consistent, and let your brain naturally build those direct neural connections.
This raises an important question, though. It's something for our listeners to mull over as they implement these habits.
Oh, what's that?
If direct thinking in English means bypassing your native language entirely to the point where you have a completely separate internal ecosystem of English words, spatial memories, and emotional affirmations, do you actually develop a slightly different personality or voice when you start thinking purely in English?
Wow.
Does learning to live directly in a new language shape a new version of you?
Oh, that is a fascinating thought to leave on. Does English-speaking you have a slightly different worldview or personality than native language you? It's definitely something to explore as you start putting these techniques into practice.
It's a journey, for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We encourage you to try out just one small habit tonight. Maybe narrate your dinner plans while you cook, or finally switch your phone's language settings. Take that first step toward direct thinking. We will see you next time.